hours in there, you know? And in this next video, this gym influencer just isn't going for it when a dude told him to turn his camera off.
You recording right now?
Yes.
I don't want to be in your recording.
I don't care. You touch me, watch what happens.
Like, that right there just shows the ego of a lot of freaking gym influencers, bro. If somebody tells you to stop recording, bro, just stop recording. That's literally it. Or you could just wait until the dude left and then record it again if you truly wanted to. But it's like, bro, if somebody says that they don't want to be in your recording and you respond with,
You touch me, watch what happens.
you don't look hard or anything, you just look like a certified cornball, bro. These are the types of people that ruin the reps of bodybuilders, bro. I'm telling you, if you go outside and you see a freaking jacked bodybuilder, a lot of jacked bodybuilders are mad chill. It's pretty crazy. But this guy right here, he thinks that just because he's recording and he's freaking flexing his muscles that he's the biggest guy in the room, when it's like, bro, calm down. Like, if somebody tells you to stop recording, just stop recording. That's pretty much it. Overall, I just think that this dude is a certified cornball and he just makes the gym community look bad. But since we're talking about influencers and recording in gyms, let's talk about female influencers that are baiting clips, calling dudes creeps when they're not creeps at all. They're literally just freaking working out. Like, I'm pretty sure a few months ago, we all saw that video of that woman recording in the gym. The two dudes look over at her and then she gets all freaking mad and flustered saying that they're a freaking creep.
Do you need something? 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 Okay, I thought so. Keep it pushing.
It's a crazy reality, bro. You can't even look over at somebody without them calling you a creep. Isn't that wild? And the sad part about this is that, let's say a woman is like stuck or something under a barbell. She has a freaking tripod right in front of her. Nobody is gonna help her because they don't want to risk getting called a freaking creep. Like, that's happened numerous times, like inside of gyms.
Excuse me. Excuse me. Hey. You think you can help me out over here? Yeah, yeah.
You could literally be dying in a gym, but it's like if you have that tripod right in front of you, it's like, bro, it's like a barrier, bro. Like, nobody's gonna freaking help you, dog. It's actually wild. I remember like a few months ago, right? This was like in the heat of all the freaking girls calling me that bag went down like a bag of ammo. And there's this girl who was working out right in front of me. And the thing about my machine, it's right behind hers. So it's like my eyes are locked this way. And when I'm in the freaking row machine, I have to look forward. Feel me? And one thing that I saw was a camera on the floor. And when I tell you, I thought I was cooked, man. I thought I was gonna be on the freaking next episode of Gym Creeps 2.0 just because I was freaking looking this way when a girl was recording. I'm not gonna lie, I was truly scared for my life. But it's just crazy, dog. Like, you can get labeled a creep in the gym if you just look over at somebody. Like, I feel like that's one thing that everybody does, bro. When you're in public, when you're in the gym, just wherever, you're always looking at people, bro. You want to see what people are up to. You don't want to be freaking blind when you're walking in places, not seeing what the vibe is. Sometimes you got to look at everybody in the room just for your own safety. You never know what somebody could be on, bro. Especially with all these freaking shootings nowadays. It's like, bro, scoping out a room is not bad. You feel me? And I feel like a lot of gym influencers are just taking advantage of people looking at them, just labeling them as a creep. When it's like, bro, they just looked at you once. Like, just calm down. With all that this video, I say that it's good that the gym is becoming popular, but I feel like a lot of influencers and stuff is like bad narrative on the gym, you know? Like, the gym went from being about hard work, respect, discipline, but now it's just about ego, about...
I'm gonna need a clip soon.
You can go to the gym without being cringy. I'm telling you right now, like, I know it sounds like a freaking crazy concept, but you truly can. Also,
Sorry, zombie. I ain't nobody's meat snack.
You don't have to make the gym your whole freaking personality once you start going. Like, I feel like it's just corny, dog. Just go to the gym. That's pretty much it. But yeah, that's gonna wrap up the video. If you guys made this far, I appreciate you. Tell me your guys' thoughts on gym culture down below in the comments section. But yeah, like I said, this is gonna be the end of the video. If you guys enjoyed this video, then I highly recommend you guys check out my most recent video where I talk about movie logic that makes no sense at all. But yeah, with all that being said, thank you guys for watching. It's Cameron, and I'm out.
Oh my goodness, what is up, guys? Hope you're all doing well. Welcome back to more gaming news. It is Nadeshot under fire this past week after announcing for sponsorship to all of these channels, which caught a few people by surprise, maybe not for some other long-term viewers of his.
Sizzling zombie meat.
As it was coincidentally and unfortunately timed with more layoffs at 100 Thieves. Before we get into all of that, though, it's been the return to streaming for Nadeshot for quite some time now, and it has been extremely successful. I mean, this guy
Okay, that was a good shot.
Subscribers on Twitch or members on YouTube, and has actually peaked over 40,000 during that time. Has done really well concurrent viewership-wise. I think averaging anywhere between 5 to 10,000 across all platforms. His return to streaming, taking a step down as 100 Thieves CEO, which we'll come back to later on, and more into what used to be a full-time creator and streamer, has done really well for him. And all of this culminated to a couple months ago where we covered this, where he drove into Counter-Strike. When I say drove into Counter-Strike, he mostly drove into Counter-Strike.
I'm the kid! Get back in the grave!
Cases here with the boys, lose your money with the boys because you shouldn't open CS cases. This was absurd amounts. Like, if you tuned in, it was every other second he was opening the case. I'm pretty sure over the course of like 3 weeks, he played like 3 games of actual
Swallow your
which I was kind of
soul!
excited for, but nonetheless, it was still content I enjoyed because it's a guy spending money on cases that I would never, in my right mind, nor do I have the money, but I would never spend this kind of money. This was hundreds of thousands of dollars spent on CS cases, most of which was blown into the winds because, again, don't do this. But I bring it back to this point because here is where the seed, it's not even the initial seed. You've been watching Nadeshot for a long time. He's been hinting at wanting a gambling sponsor ever since his return to streaming. So this wasn't too surprising to me. I think the abruptness of the announcement is where it was surprising, but it coming out with the CS gambling venture, which eventually, I don't know if it was up or down. I'm sure he did very well in the ad money and subs and whatnot. But still, was probably a very pricey ordeal.
Fucking boom, freak bags!
He was buying thousands at a time. It was insane.
Very expensive, and at a certain point we were making money from the cases, man. I'm just gonna be honest with you, but very quickly it turned into making money. But when the fine folks at WAW-BOIII saw how much of a degenerate gambler I was, they were like, we gotta get you immediately. And I said, you need to get on there just as much. And so
Oh, look at all the flesh flying!
Conversation, we consummated our love, and now
Man to the head, baby!
mid-Mexico.
I have one badass killing machine!
Like real gambling. So I just want to say thank you to everybody at Kick, everybody at WAW-BOIII for allowing me the opportunity to be here. You know, I'm thinking these guys like it's AT&T and it's a sponsored trade, but on God, like this is the biggest partnership that I've had in my entire life. And I know it is
Juggernaut!
as transparently as possible. And all the things that I feel and all the things that I know. Guys, at the end of the day,
Get your hands off me, bag brain! Do that again, I'll bite you back,
you're gonna
freak
have
sack!
moments where you can win and come up, but gambling can be very, very dangerous. And that's why I'm using their money to gamble myself. It's raw balance. They're paying me a fee, and I can do with that fee whatever I want, as long as I gamble a certain amount of hours on every single month. So
The devil's dogs. No match for the U.S. Marines.
that I'm using on my
Ammo's getting low. I need to get some slugs.
day now, and I just want you to know,
Yeah, that's right.
this is for content. This is for everybody who enjoy Watch Me Cases to enjoy me being in this setting as much as possible. But at the end of the day, it is just entertainment. But I'm paying the price for that.
Another day of kicking
All
ass.
of that culminated into his announcement where he said, hey, I'm now going to be going down to Mexico, announcing my brand new gambling sponsors. Well, I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say that. I don't want to get freaking struck on YouTube, but he announced this to a lot of backlash because for a lot of
I think it's all just hit next week.
It felt like he took it a step later than Sia's cases.
Time to kill. Wait in your
Sia's
guts
cases
when I
are
get
gambling.
sucked.
If you are promoting that to people, I'm sure people are open to Sia's cases, despite it being very obvious that he was losing money. Sia's cases are a version of gambling. People feeling this step even further, which it is directly to the source, playing slots in Mexico, live on Kick. It was a bit of a change. And the real unfortunate part of the story, and what I think really was the fact that it came the same time around where 100 Thieves were yet
Not your sea rations.
we found out from someone like Logan, a longtime employee, I think one of the first employees there, 7 or 8 years. We later found out someone like Josh, a great homie, a great creator out there, wishing him best of luck for the future. He was also laid off, and around 12 people in total were laid off from the company while he was down in Mexico doing gambling streams, which he later said was very unfortunate timing. He didn't know those were finalized or happening, which I do believe he would not choose to do that on purpose. That would be extremely dumb to do, but that definitely heightens the response of people and the negativity that he received. And because of all that, he finally sat down to give a response and some clarity on the situation of taking said
I wish I could meet the chick who sang that jingle.
He's not going to be taking back. He's not necessarily apologizing for taking the sponsor, which I'm sure is making him a large amount of money. He did apologize for the timing of all of this being around the same time where his company is continuing to lay off people and
Get your
certainly
hands
not
off
in the
me,
best of
bag
spots,
brain.
while also talking about the pitfalls of gambling, telling people not to gamble.
Hey, freak bag, you ain't that good.
Very well, and also talking about other things around this situation, so on and so forth.
I got on Twitter, whoa. I got on Reddit, whoa. A lot of people very upset. And, you know, what's worse, the timing of some of these things, the way that they played out, I get.
Draw, motherfuckers.
Throughout this video, I'm not really here to change anybody's opinion because just the time that I spent on the internet where people. So I'm just gonna tell you.
Shot. Too bad we ain't keeping score.
I'm not here to be aggressive. Exactly the way that I see things, the way that things happen. I am not the CEO of the company. I don't go into the office.
Fucking boom, freak bags.
Our last real meeting was at the end of July, and that is the last communication. Roster stuff that I did.
Double points. Hell yeah.
When I got to Mexico, which was on the 4th, morning of the 4th, I got a text on the 5th, Friday morning.
Dude, I love Bossa Nova. Hey, freak sack, you lose something?
Board meeting that I attended in July was there was a conversation that we might have to lay off a few folks. Now, in no situation in the rounds of that we had to do that last night. Probably ever had a better part of in my career.
Fuck yeah, that was a good shot. Did you see that?
I hope nothing more for you to find a great place.
That meat bag went down like a bag of ammo.
I didn't even realize it was finance. That would be a pretty ballsy call for me. Be like, hey, you know what? I know that we're doing those playoffs here, but fuck it. We're going live with Ruben. Just like, whoa.
Hey, freak sack, you lose something?
And the reason why I was in Mexico that week is because my wife is 8. She's
Do
37.
that again, I'll bite you back, freak sack.
Already on the calendar in 2 weeks. She has planned my trip
Those
to
freak
Mexico
bags are gonna eat lead and
for
die.
September, October, November, December, January already. She's a planner in this deal. My Ruben stream was already planned for post-up, but I finished early, so I have been on the calendar for weeks and weeks and weeks. So terrible. let's gamble. Look at that back-end analytics.
Damn, no ammo.
Right now, 59% of my audience is 25 years
Hands off me, bag brain. Sorry. I ain't nobody's meat snack.
13 to 17-year-olds, 0.02%. Brother.
Fucking teddy bear. Four-legged freak sacks. Just more shit to blow up.
Bottom of the screen.
Yeah, that's right.
We gotta start drinking right now. Like, people are all about it. And I said time and time again. If I'm sitting on stream and you guys are watching the case opens, even if you didn't, even if I'm shooting Call of Duty, brother, I make terrible jokes all day. And I said, if I get a gambling deal, I'm doing it. And people are like, yeah, brother, if you want to drink and gamble, let's do it. I'm like, hell yeah. And it happened, and it's awesome. Don't gamble, you'll lose. I'm telling you right now. Don't gamble, you'll lose.
Time to amp it up. Time to die, freak meats!
I just spawned in. Now the layoff thing, we're just keeping it at the same time. Like I said, listen.
Die, freak sack! Electrifying!
It's what it is, man. It's what it is. So, look, I'm not sure if this video helped at all because honestly, the more I kept talking to it, the more upset I kept getting and the more condescending I probably sound. But that's where I'm at here. That's how I feel. And I hope you guys have a great day. I'm trying to figure out if there's anything on this, but
Another day of kicking ass!
hope that helps.
Time to kill!
Not really sure how to feel. There are a lot of going around. You know, taken over by a slew of gambling sponsors in the last couple of years. The first one I recognized, all the
Bloodbath, my favorite time!
events, which was very expensive, was due to a gambling sponsor. I don't currently have one, but would I take one in the future? Most likely would. Have I taken one in the past? Yes.
Die, motherfucker!
Shot of doing something that I might agree to. Now, as an esports gambling sponsor, it's not necessarily going down to Mexico and playing slots. A lot of people out there would argue that is one step past what a lot of other people in the industry have done, as we are seeing all of these sports and esports betting sponsors going out. Everyone's putting out their slips on prize picks or esports or Call of Duty matches. You guys have seen what I'm talking about, and some people would argue that going to sit down and play literal casino games is maybe a step further, which, you know, to each their own.
Freaking sweet is
that's a step in that direction. But for the amount of money that HI would probably pay, would all of us say no? Probably not. And that's again, people seeing HI a bit of a different tone because he is obviously very well off. We've seen how much he is made
Badass machine!
so he doesn't need the additional probably millions of dollars. But does that mean it's easy to say no to? I don't know. Apparently not. And I think it's funny people see him as the face of 100 Thieves, even though he clarifies the CEO.
Holy shit, that was badass!
And will forever be, whether or not he wanted to sign up for that part of it. And so people seeing an esports organization directly casino gambling and promoting that to everyone in his audience, yeah, there's going to be some natural aggression towards like, hey,
How
that's
freaking sweet is that?
That's not very appropriate behavior for you to be illustrating to some people. And he's also not the first person to turn to, I would say, this level of gambling. You know, it was actually years ago where Nick Merckx had signed his deal going over to Kick to do the exact same thing. The offshore gambling. He also received an equal amount of
God fucking boom, freak bags!
Chuck and Nick Merckx have a bit of that rivalry back and forth. Now they join hands in the public backlash of promoting gambling. But I'm not going to sit here and judge the guy and say that I wouldn't take the tremendous amount of money he was probably not going to do this. I would lot of esports organizations and a lot of gaming teams out there are being held up by the same exact backings. And so we don't know where the future of all this is going to go. And some people are clearly cashing in on that while they still can. I can't judge that.
Those don't sound like freak bags.
So next time, what do you guys think about this? Nate Chop and make sure you guys know. See you back there sometime soon. Take care, y'all. I'm surprised I'm not pitching.
Esports was about facts, mainstream legitimacy, analysts, promised analytics, and at the NBA. And with that promise, dollars. Investors were writing blockchains, building sprawling alien headquarters, superstructures, and Hollywood-level production lines. And at the center of it all was nature. With 100 moves that entire explosion, A-list investors, and 9-figure valuations, the trajectory of esports continued to But what no one seemed to realize was that this was the height of a billion-dollar bubble.
Turkesterone. Does it work? Or more specifically, does Turk Builder work? From Greg Doucette. I did a 40-day experiment, and I'm here to share the results.
That's right.
I took turkesterone for 40 days, and I made sure to fully max out the dose so there would be no excuses. I took 3 pills a day, 40 days straight, So this is something that I was very serious about. I made sure to keep things the same. I did not try and change things. I was very, very structured about this. I didn't go into this thinking, hey, like, what if I'm just trained? I've been working hard.
It's the time to kill. Kill every last one of you undead flesh sacks.
Now. Some of those claims
Die, bag brains!
Alright. First thing somebody said, Greg said,
fucking boom, freak bags!
Said, absolutely.
Double points! Hell yeah!
Was that something I noticed? No, I didn't notice anything. It was just a regular old day for me. Now, somebody else early on in the experiment said, you gotta make a video on its effects after. Greg said, yes, can't wait for the truth to finally be reviled. I'm sure he meant revealed, but he said reviled. Now, I thought that was interesting because, first things first, if you are trying to hide something from other people, you're not typically excited to see what the results could be. So even if it did or didn't work, like Greg, it looks like, does truly believe in this product. So I give him props for that. If he stands behind it because he truly believes in it, that's awesome. Now, let's continue. Somebody said, so what exactly is Turk and how is it a supplement claiming muscle gain and yet not banned in natural competitions? And then I said back, Greg said it should be banned from natural comps, and I did put a laughing face with that. Now, obviously, like, it could be a little bit inflammatory putting a laughing face with it, but Greg came in and said, it should be banned in competitions, in my opinion. I don't want to misquote him. It should be banned competition is my opinion, and I do think that they will eventually ban it once they develop better methods. So, Greg thinks that this should be banned from natural competition. when I said that with the laughing face that it should be banned, Greg was like, yes, that you know for certain that it's
Gas machine.
Now, I did mean that statement. I've been training for well over 500 years. Quibble over the exact definition because not all of it's bodybuilding style training. But let's say I've been training for in total. If I can gain muscle in a small time because of a supplement,
Son of a bitch.
that is like that is smart. I'm able to gain some additional muscle. So I want
That's right.
let's go over a little bit more before we go further into the results. Somebody was talking about creatine versus Turk Builder, how Greg said it was stronger. I never like to go off of what somebody else says somebody else has said, right? So I don't like the whole, well, he said that Greg said, so I would never go off of something that Greg did not directly claim himself. But luckily for us, Greg came into the comment section of that part and said, LOL, it's way stronger than creatine. Don't insult Turk Builder. A quarter of the results. Are you kidding me? I think that was because there was like some, there was some I don't want to go too far into that, but basically Greg is saying that Turk Builder shouldn't be insulted being compared to creatine. It's a pretty bold statement, but hey, let's continue forward. He also responded to somebody else and said, it won't take him 4 weeks to know that Turk is way stronger than creatine. So Greg has not only claimed that you would feel initial effects right away with Turk Builder, he's also claiming that you will notice results long before the time period that I actually used it for, okay? That's very important to note because I've had people say 40 days isn't long enough, etc. I'm like, if it has the effects that Greg says it does, I should be able to notice it in this time period according to him, not according to me. All right, let's continue forward. Oh, I guess we went through the majority of the comments that Greg left on my posts. Next thing, a lot of people are like, oh, well, it has a money-back guarantee, so like that just shows you how much he believes in it. To put it bluntly, money-back guarantees don't really mean a whole lot, just because a lot of people aren't willing to go through the process. This is marketing 101. People know that, okay, there's a lot of steps, usually a lot of hoops to go through to get your money back, and a lot of people just aren't going to go through those. So you're probably not going to lose out on much if you have a money-back guarantee on things. And then when you have stipulations to go with that money-back guarantee, probably not going to happen either. I am not discrediting the business practice of the money-back guarantee. I am simply stating it's not one of those things that is really going to be that effective against a false product. That's why you see lots of stuff on TV that is pretty obviously scammy, still has money-back guarantees. I'm not saying Greg is scamming, I'm just saying the whole money-back guarantee being a check to make sure that you're getting the absolute best product, it doesn't really work like that. Not in the business world. So, if we take a look at the money-back guarantee, you can see that I don't qualify on pretty much any level. And here's the reason. One, it can only be used on single products. I bought 3 of these because I needed 3 to get a serving size of 3 capsules for the entire 40 days. So it would only have applied to 1 bottle. Next, it can't be empty. So you can't even go through and use the entire thing and then send it back and be like, I didn't like it. You'd have to have stopped at some point in order to send it back. Then you got to go through the whole like shipping methods, stuff you pay for shipping, all this. I'll put up in case I misrepresented the money back guarantee. I don't want to do that. Like this is not me going against Greg's practice of the money back guarantee. I'm just explaining to you how it would work in my situation or not. So I will put it up on the side. If I misrepresent anything, I truly apologize, and you're free to correct me down in the comments. I will take full responsibility if I did say something wrong in that regard. I mean, it looks like what I said is right, though. Maybe it could be wrong. I have not lawyered up on this topic. Now, let's talk through results. Okay, so first things first, did not notice anything immediately off the bat, did not notice a surge in performance or aggression. I know that was something that other people had talked about, and it had been said that Greg struggled with sleep and stuff like that because he was taking it a little bit too late in the day, so he's just taking it earlier in the day. These were a lot of claims being made around the acute effects of it. I didn't notice any of those. Next thing, I was looking to see if my lifts would improve over the course of this time, more so than they would have improved with me just having a regular training program. I did not notice that. So if you take an example like my preacher machine curl, right? My preacher machine curl, I can max it out for about 3, maybe 4 reps on a good day, and I'm pretty much so, but one of the reasons I like exercises like that for determining things is simply because the fact that they're stable. They're very stable. It's going to be almost directly work on the biceps. It's very hard to cheat it unless you really go out of your way to do so. I'm pretty much in the same range with that. Maybe I get 4 a little bit more often, but it's a lower rep range, which can give you a better indication. That way it's not based on your overall cardio or anything else like that. The other thing that I did was I did do a 1 rep max bench, or I attempted a 1 rep max bench to see if that had improved. I know without training, you've seen me, I can go in and I can hit like a 365, 385 range. And the reason for this is because of the fact that if you actually add contractile units to the overall frame, there should be an increase in strength to go along with it. I know this is like, people are like, oh, well, you train for hypertrophy, you train for strength. There is a lot of overlap, especially when you're talking about muscle building relative to strength, right? So you can develop strength without necessarily developing muscle. It is very hard to develop muscle without developing strength. And the reason for that is simple. You have more, you have more to recruit, right? So if I was to gain an additional 5 pounds of muscle in my chest, triceps, shoulders, whatever else, you would expect there to be a pretty good gain in actual ability to output force. I didn't experience that. I went for a 405 bench today. My 365 bench moved kind of similar to the way it typically moves. My 405 didn't land, right? So there was no significant performance increase on a lift like that. And I understand, right? This is not a perfect way to test these things. I didn't do a DEXA scan or anything like that. I understand that there can be critiques of the way I perform this experience, right? I am not saying that this is perfect. I am simply giving you a little bit of an idea as to how I was testing it and why I will or will not be taking Turk Builder in the future. And I'll tell you straight up, I'm not going to be taking it. There's just I don't see any real benefit to it for myself. In fact, Greg actually said in my comment section when I did an update on my Turkester, and I said I hadn't felt so this was about 3 weeks in, I said I hadn't felt anything beneficial from it. Greg said, if I didn't notice it in 3 weeks, I would just go and get a money-back guarantee. If you don't notice it in 3 days, I would say don't even bother, because there's no way that if you respond to this, it's going to take 3 weeks to notice anything. I noticed that the very first day. I actually disagree with what Greg said. I mean, simply put, a supplement can work over a longer period of time without you necessarily noticing the effects of it. So I actually disagree with it. I was giving him more leniency towards the product than he was giving himself. But I don't know exactly why he wouldn't want me to continue the experiment. We want me to just go straight to a money-back guarantee. But long story short, I was going to finish the experiment no matter what. And he thought I should just go get a money-back guarantee if I wasn't noticing acute effects of it. So, if that's how strong he believes in the acute effects of it, if I was a responder to it, which he would claim I'm a non-responder, I'm sorry, 40 days should have been enough time to see those performance increases. It should have. And if I'm not seeing those performance increases, there's only one of 2 explanations. 1, Turk doesn't work, or 2, I'm a non-responder to Turk. It's one or the other. You can try and reason your way through some random little loophole, like it's probably just not the case, right? If I was to hop on testosterone, I would see some immediate strength increases. I would see some immediate tissue accrual increases. Like, these are the types of responses that you get from true performance enhancement. Like, that is the way it works. I would not say that Turk was a performance enhancer in any regard whatsoever. And I think if you were to argue that it was and that I just didn't take it for long enough, then you don't really understand the thing that Greg was thinking about this product. Add to that the product cost me $180 just to take it for those 40 days because I was getting the free pills. It's like I understand, like, maybe I have the finances to do it, but a lot of people won't, right? So if you're taking it as a just in case, it's a lot of money to spend for a just in case. And according to Greg's own logic, if you don't feel the response from it within a few days, you probably shouldn't be using it at all. All in all, this was a fun experiment. I enjoyed it. I am making no definitive claims on Turk Builder itself. I am simply stating my overall results from the experiment, and I expect Greg will probably respond to this. I think I've given a pretty fair representation of the overall situation. Maybe he doesn't see it that way, maybe he does. I guess we'll see. Also, the fact that Greg has never done a natty or not is beyond irritating. Simply because of the fact that obviously natty or not gets people exposure. Come on. A lot of people think I'm a fake. You gotta do it. You gotta do it at some point. I don't care if you say I'm not natty, but you gotta do it. Come on. How have we gone like a little bit back and forth for the last 3 years and unreal. Regardless, guys, I hope you got some value out of this. I do not want this to be something where people take it outside of what I've said. Right? You can draw your own conclusions, but please do not misquote anything I've said in this video. Please do not take an individual, like, 3-second clip and try and turn it into something it's not. I tried a product, it didn't work, and that is all there is to this. Now, you guys can take whatever you'd like from this conversation. I just hope that we can overall remain relatively positive in general, and I will see you guys in the next one. As always, love you guys, appreciate you guys, see you NFL.
No, after what we just did.
But you're not gonna work.
What's that one thing you hated most about this vlog, besides working out with me?
10 reps of anything. Just 10.
Of anything, 10 reps of everything.
Everything.
I trained like a 70s powerlifter for 30 days, and this is what happened. I have a huge affinity for old school type training, what we associate as the guys back in the 60s and 70s doing to get jacked. The early days of strength training, way back when, were about experimentation, about trying new things. So by the time powerlifting came around in the 60s, a lot of the guys there were training using similar methodologies that bodybuilders were using, and even Olympic lifters. It was really about saying yes to training, getting in, getting your hands dirty, getting used to a shit ton of work, and reaping the benefits. You could always look back afterwards and say, that didn't work so well, let me try something else, but there was no way getting around the experimentation. In a world today marked by hyper specialization, your first day in the gym, I think that's a much needed antidote to the modern training culture. Now, I love this type of training so much, both in principle and how it lends itself to the spirit of training culture, that I made a program after it. I put together 70s Powerlifter in my original base strength book, which is still available right now, and it's featured in my base strength AI app, which I'm also using in order to prep for Worlds. I haven't competed at Worlds since 2019. I took 5th in the 105 kilogram class, and I think I can improve on that performance, but to do that, I need a lot more muscle, a lot more strength, and a lot less body fat, and I've got 9 months to do it. So let's see what the first block of 70s Powerlifter did to me. Multiple barbell exercises for sets of 10 across, increasing volume each week. If that sounds terrible, it's actually worse than it sounds, so buckle up and let's get into it. The layout of this program is a 4-day split. This is very common, a squat, bench, deadlift, overhead day. It's kind of upper, lower, but you're focusing on different movement patterns, so it's like 1.5 frequency. But this gives you a lot of touches throughout the week. Most people can recover from it, and it's pretty simple. And given that you're only doing each lift once per week, you can actually cram in a bunch of work instead of having to delicately position your training stressors across a working week. So I like that, but of course there are multiple ways to skin a cat. Now, when you look back at a lot of the programs from back in the day, you're going to see a lot of different barbell exercises, and they're not hyper-specific weirdo variations that are trying to like surgically attack your weakness. They're generally kind of basically good variations that do a lot. We're painting with a broad brush here, and they don't shy away from high reps. So this program starts with a competition lift and then 2 big compound variations. They're usually barbell movements. Sometimes you'll swap out something like dips for a bench press barbell movement, but for the most part they're barbell variations, and the progression runs in line with the main lift, and it turns out to be quite a bit of work. Now, the variations are typically broad, but you have the option to implement more specific ones as you get a better handle on what your weaknesses are and what you should focus on. But the general changes you make that add a lot of novelty is changing the grip, changing the range of motion, adding tempo or a pause, or switching to some type of specialty bar if you have one available. And of course, there's other ways you can change it, but there aren't bonus points for going off the rails. There's more than enough options here. So you follow up pressing with upper body accessory. Your biceps, your triceps, your delts, your upper back are gonna get hit. On leg day, you'll do specific stuff for your abdominals, for your hamstrings, for the smaller odds and ends that don't get hit. You might do unilateral work. So it's generally big, heavy barbell movements followed by what we can essentially think of as bodybuilding work. And the progression it follows is a Western periodization progression. Now the app handles volume recommendations based on your input. In the book, I just had a 3-week variation. There's 4-week variation here. You'll generally start at 2, 3, or 4 sets and work up to 4, 5, or 6 sets. Now that's a lot of working sets, but you see that there's a little bit of pliability based on how you respond to what type of exercise it is. You might be starting out a lot lower on deadlifts, but your bench press, you might end up doing a lot of work very early on because it can handle it and it tends to respond better. Now each 3 or 4 week block is dedicated to a specific rep range. So the first block that we're gonna cover is the 10s. Then it goes to the 8s, the 5s, the 3s, the 2s, the 1s. Once we get into the lower rep ranges, we're intensifying. So we're starting with high volume and then tapering down so we're fresh as possible for those heaviest attempts. And that's where we get recovery, and that ties into the peak. So there is a little bit of methodology to the madness, but also it is very kind of generalized, and it's up to you to figure out how hard you're gonna go, how you're gonna select the weights, and how the volume is gonna move forward, how aggressively within each block in order to allow you to recover. Or again, you can use the app, which is going to make those decisions for you. Now, the key thing here is the progression. This is what we're looking for, because with sets across, especially with higher reps, you're going to fatigue at different rates, so it's a little harder to predict. You can't just add 5 pounds in like a linear progression type fashion. And in fact, the rate that you're going to adapt to this, it's going to be very fast. Muscular endurance goes to the roof really, really quickly. So you want to be able to capitalize on that, which is the reason that we implemented ranges instead of specific dedicated numbers. And your job is to kind of fill those ranges out. I think of increasing the pyramid. You're either adding to the tip of the pyramid or you're broadening it out, doing more sets at heavier weights. So we look at volume overall, which is just the area under the curve. If you add a set, there's more volume. If any of the sets get heavier, there's more volume. Average intensity, if any of the sets are heavier than the week before, the average intensity is going to go up. And then there's the absolute intensity, which is the heaviest weight you worked up to that day. Those are the 3 things I track. So if I can see a general upward trend, even on days where you don't have it, where you can't go heavier than before, there's still options. You can do another set at a heavier weight than last time instead of pyramiding up and down in kind of a clean fashion. Adding the set by default adds that training stress. So sometimes you improve because you did get stronger from last week. Sometimes you just turn that dial regardless of what you're feeling, and that's what happens when you add in an extra set each week. It is forcing the stress that is going to cause you to respond. Also, it's really important to know that exercise selection is clutch. You're going to see some of my selections early on. I did experiment a little bit, but in general, you want to make sure you're not blowing your wad. So some exercises that are very, very like cardiovascularly demanding or create a bunch of systemic stress. Squats and deads do that anyways. But if you're leaning into that, you might find you don't have enough gas in the tank for the follow-up exercises. So keeping the effort back appropriately is an art form. Many of you are going to want to go hard when you have it. Then you'll find you have nothing left. As the workouts go on, you find that as capacity goes up, you can handle higher RPEs and repeat performance, so more of the sets are quality instead of having this, oh, I'm so strong, and then the other 80% of the work, you just nosedive and crash to the ground. Aside from systemic fatigue, you want to worry about local fatigue. If you blow out a smaller muscle group on, say, a pressing exercise, just like you don't want to blow out your biceps before you go do pull-ups, if your triceps get pumped because you use a tricep variation on the first exercise, you're going to find you have a much, much harder time handling weight. That doesn't mean you can't progress, doesn't mean you can't grow, but you want to do things in kind of an appropriate order. So I recommend competition movement and then save the most devastating movements that are going to wipe you out the most for the third movement before you go into the isolation stuff.
Here, Mila. It's hard.
Well, this thing's not working.
It's working. It's a sub your sandbagging. That's what it's. My heart rate is at 131.
98.
That tracks. Okay, we're a third of the way through just the compounds. We don't even have the accessory or the isolation. We got 4 sets of deads.
Yeah.
4 sets of RDLs.
Yeah.
4 sets of good mornings.
It's a lot of work.
And then Sush, how do you feel after what we just did?
I feel like I'm gonna throw up.
Because
I feel like I worked hard.
my love had a sweater on. this little thing. She's a very brave woman. I go shirtless and cover myself in cold water because I'm not built for the heat. And it's like the fucking Amazon rainforest outside. In your fatigue state, how do you reflect on this 4-week block that we've done so far? Like, think of you remember the first deadlift workout we did?
Yeah. I think it's definitely prepared me for today because I don't feel like I'm fatigued, but it's not like, it's not crippling.
It almost sucks because it kind of hurts similarly, but as you recover, you know, fuck, like I can't lay on my back and say I'm done because I can actually do another one.
Yes, yeah. It's just kind of prepped you for this last week.
I almost want to be tired so I can tap out, but I can't. Yeah, so capacity is way up.
Yes.
Do you remember what you used for deads the first week?
Yeah, it was like at like 185.
Okay, and then you did 215 for what, 3 sets of 10 today? Okay.
4 sets of 10.
Well, that, your fourth one was 195. Okay. We double check numbers in this household. What's that one thing you hated most about this block? Besides working out with me?
Just 10 reps of anything. Just 10.
Of anything, 10 reps of everything.
Everything. Like, everything was 10, 12. The arm workouts, I don't like the resistance training you're making me do.
You look jacked, please. That's not just lighting. Baby.
Naturally jacked, man.
3 months, naturally. Okay, third of the way through. We'll check back in 3.5 hours. Let me finish. All right, let's get to the results. So let's start with the bench day. Start with close grip pin press. I needed it because my triceps have sucked for a long time, so I decided to bite the bullet, and I'll focus on heavier versions to start out with later as I'm in more strength specific blocks. However, this did kind of mess with my second and third exercise. I wouldn't really recommend this. Still got a great stimulus out of it. When your triceps get a little blown, it's hard to do different exercises. So it's a matter of how strong do you want to be for these variations versus how much you're just trying to stimulate. So as the example before, you're just trying to set a baseline of work and then increase incrementally. The first workout, 225, 255. Why didn't I stay there? Why didn't I go up? Because you're supposed to stay in the pocket. The RP matters. If you go 9 or 10, especially at sets of 10, you're not going to be able to do anything for the rest of your work. So stay in the RPE range. It's very important. We're trying to figure out how to go heavier, how to do more work without just jump into RP 10 on everything. Because when we can save that for the end, after already accumulating a bunch of volume and practice touches, that's going to give us an extra gear we can shift into. So going into the second day, started at 255, dropped it down for 2 sets at 245. So we already have an increase in average intensity and a whole extra set. So that's a whole 33% more volume. So that's a big stimulus, even though the absolute intensity stayed the same. Kept that for the third week, 255, 4 sets of 10. I hit 12. I was twacked out that day on pre-workout, hit 12, felt good for it, even though I probably should have left it for the accessories. I just wanted to get that off my back. Now this is where fatigue catches up with you. The fourth workout, I'm like, we're going 275 today, where I earned that weight jump. However, I was still experiencing residual fatigue from this volumizing wave. So 275 only hit for 6. I also hit the pin a lot lower than I did in workouts past. I had an inch or two higher. That also made a difference. But I really think the fatigue was catching up with me, and that's why we have deload weeks. If you're going to go up, 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 sometimes that last week you're going to hit a wall, and that's where you look forward to the deload. And we reset, lower volume work, and then now I'm a couple weeks into the second block, and I'm already much stronger, feeling better. So this is what we're looking for. Volume continuously goes up. I kept the absolute intensity the same except for the last week, so I got an extra stress there. And then average intensity just dropped a little bit because I was fatigued for that last week, but who cares? Overall, I saw this huge upward trend across everything, and I earned that deload. Going into the overhead day, exact same pattern. Now, again, I'm doing some specific fuckery here. I would do my first set clean every rep. So I was doing axle clean cardio because I'm horrible at axle cleans. And the first weight I would start with was appropriate. So I was fatigued for these later sets, but I didn't care. I'm a good push presser. This is a strong event for me. My clean is holding me back. So I kind of integrated those things. I don't recommend you guys do that. This is very specific to my prep that I need. So I was able to see that first set go up as my conditioning and my technique and my grip got better. And I was also able to hang with heavier weights as my capacity got better throughout the weeks. But it's the exact same pattern. Working up to something, 225 for 10 was a little sticky after that. Then I was able to go 245 for my fourth set, then 255, then 265. So I was able to add weight without just hitting the gas. It was appropriate. It was an appropriate jump given how I was improving. And of course, more sets at these
heavier rest stop benchmark. So average intensity is going up quite a bit. And you see a really nice upward trend across. Linearly, I was able to stick to a top set that I was able to add on to. That's not something I planned. It just worked out that way. Don't anticipate you can do that. It's not always going to work out linearly like that. Average intensity is climbing up, volume climbing up like crazy. So my press did very well across the board this block, even given the implementation of some stuff that might not have been ideal. But I don't even have regrets. I think it did what it was supposed to do. Remember, as long as you're implementing something different block to block, there is no optimal. You just need to make sure that whatever you committed to, you improved upon. If you improved upon it, you're good to go into the next block. But there's always going to be variables and unknowns. So as long as you see progress, assume you weren't entitled to that progress. So if you get a green check mark, if you get a thumbs up, yes, I improved, you did it right. Take that, preserve it, remember it for next time, instead of asking 5,000 questions about what you maybe possibly could have squeezed a couple percentage points more gains out of. The faithful execution of a block that allows you to see progress from the beginning and end, plus the transition into another block where you do the same thing, that's how long-term growth happens. It has fucking nothing to do with the theoretical 3% extra growth you should have done from doing this other thing. So pull your head out of the sand. You got to take the bigger view. This is how growth happens. Okay, moving into the fun stuff, the squat. My first squat workout was pathetic. And then you see this big jump. Like starting at 60%, I estimated about 545. My squat was kind of in the shitter with the weight loss. 315 for 4 sets of 10 after not really doing repeating high rep sets for a few months. That sucked, guys. I mean, technically the RP was low, but you know what it's like when you can do more reps, but the burn sets in, you're breathing hard. RP gets tricky with different lifts and across different rep thresholds, especially with repeating sets. And knowing I had other work to do, I have a bad habit of getting nauseous after high volume, high rep squat work. So if I'm in my second, third, fourth exercise and I'm going hard with high reps, usually I get a pounding headache, usually I get nauseous, usually I puke. And what I found from this is that adhering to it, starting small and taking my time, I was able to adapt in a way that allowed me to hang. Going into week 2, jump 30 pounds heavier, and then I'm like, nope, too light, nope, too light, nope, too light. Notice I'm also pulsing. I'm doing that for consistency, because another thing that gets screwed up with different exercises, different rep ranges, is your percentages, your estimated training max. It gets screwed up because a squat where you take a few breaths in between, where you turn it into a rest pause set at the end, that's not the same as moving through a set like you would with a bench press or an overhead press or a set of rows. It's also a different stimulus I'm not used to. It's also good for hypertrophic growth. It's more local fatigue in the legs instead of systemic fatigue with your lungs as you catch your breath and try to go again. So I think this was a good move, and I definitely think it paid off. Going to week 3, now I'm up over 405, 425, 435. And then I wanted that number 455 for 10 with a breath in between. It's kind of the benchmark that, okay, my squat's doing pretty well. I'm usually well over a 600-pound squat when I can do that. And to be able to pulse through it, especially in this fatigue state after accruing all of this fatigue, my legs are doing nice. Even my wife's like, oh my God, your quads have never been this big. And it's really because all the pain and issues I've had in the past, inflammation, that I've finally been able to kick. I haven't been able to squat like this. So I'm really looking forward to see what this does. I have a couple big goals in mind for rep PRs that I want to hit. I'll share those with you at a later date. We'll see how it goes for now. And then deads. This is the other one that's fun. People see 3 sets of 10 on deads. They're like, go fuck your own face. I'm not doing that. Thankfully, the app was smart enough to start me out with 2 sets. And I needed it, especially in the early weeks, because it took me a while to adapt to this along with the squat workouts. 415 and 435, no biggie. Jumped to 455 the next week. Again, average intensity is way higher. Absolute intensity is obviously higher. Total volume is way higher. This is what we're looking for. If you can't do all of them, you can't get to a heavier weight, there's still other options. You can seesaw your way up week to week. Just adding an extra set is part of that. Just having one set be a little heavier than compared to last week. That is all substantive stimulus. We get into weeks 4 and 5. Finally, we have this big week here where I hit that 495 for 10 again. That's another benchmark for my deads, where I do 495 for 10 again. I'm in like the mid 6s. My dead's on its way, but I got work to do to get to where I was in the past when I was months into this type of training. So far, guys, this is cruising. The fact that I've been able to have my body fat come down, my measurements are just a little bit bigger. I'm only 4 weeks into a 24-week cycle. That bodes very well for when I get to the heavy shit, where I'm no longer worried about capacity. Now I'm trying to take these qualities I've gained, these adaptations, and apply it to moving weight. I'm very excited for how this is going to go. And then I'm also going to cover at a later date how I'm going to mesh this with strongman stuff. You can get this program in my book, Base Strength. I also have Superior Deadlift and Peak Strength available. You get it on Amazon, get it on my site. You can try the app out at basestrength.com. Take the questionnaire, you get a day to tinker around and try it out for free, see if you like the interface before you commit to a subscription. And whether you do or don't, follow me along, because this is going to be a fun ride all the way to the finish line at the end. I'll see you guys there. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Till next time, this is Bromley. I'll see you. Let's talk about gains. See, you have something called size. You get your muscles bigger, you add more meat onto your frame, and then over here you have strength, which is your ability to produce force, to jump high, to lift heavy shit, and thus justify your existence on planet Earth. And when you combine those things together, the scientists refer to that as gains. Now, there's a third dimension that people miss that is integral to gains, and that is clout, usually in the form of internet compliments. Now for strength, normally we force this through a funnel of functional. You have to ask, does this lift make me stronger at real world scenarios that I will probably never encounter? If it does, congratulations, those are gains. And for size, you might be the type of person who thinks, I'm not gonna be satisfied until people look at my delts and mistake them for the testicles of a Tyrannosaurus Rex. Is this lift gonna get me closer to T-Rex testy shoulders? If so, those are gains. And then the third one, the big one, will people be impressed if I post this lift online? No matter how good you are with the first two, that's where you are always gonna lose points. See, it doesn't matter if Mr. Isertel gets himself 30-inch arms. You can tell how many gains you're going to get from something based on the ratio of positive to negative comments. With this ratio, there's just no gains. It's not my rule. I didn't make it up. The numbers are right there. Now, the internet likes to do what it does, take small differences and blow it up into a controversial topic. For some reason, one of the oldest, most productive, most beloved, most contested movements that is low tech, easily accessible to everybody, and produces very consistent, very predictable growth. It's on the chopping block. Overhead pressing, people are asking, is it worth doing? Is it gonna give you gains? So let's get to the bottom of it right now. This is how to overhead press for no gains. All right, we good? Barbell apparel gear. This is why I don't wear white. Sir Teddy got macaroni on it, and I'm not happy. But what can I say? The boy eats food like his father. It's not about coordination, it's about quantity. Now, the first way to overhead press for no gains is to actually overhead press in the first place. What? Anybody gonna type straw man into the comments? Let's f***ing go. So let's see what the disciples of science have to say about overhead pressing for gains.
People who like the overhead press really like the overhead press. And I can see why. It does provide high tension on the shoulders in the stretched position. You can overload it extremely well. Even though the lift tends to be a stubborn lift, you can usually add a little weight or a rep, or at least improve your technique in some way. And I think that once you nail the technique down, it's a very gratifying lift.
So the Knitman takes a pretty measured approach. There are some things he likes, and there's some shortcomings. No pun intended, Jeff.
However, it does have two downsides. For one, it's very anterior delt dominant. When we look at activation patterns across the delt heads, you see that the side and rear heads aren't activated much with the overhead press. And for two, because you're standing, it's not the most stable. I'm putting it in B tier plus.
Now, I always saw the lack of side and rear delt activation as kind of a weird complaint. Everybody talks about the front delts like they're already taken care of, like benching is good enough as a stimulus. Let me tell you, you're not gonna get those veiny dino eggs by doing bench only.
It trains, due to angle of push, the front delts significantly more than any other exercise and better than any other exercise. So if you want unreal front delt hypertrophy, the overhead barbell press is a very good place to start.
And there it is, clear as day, guys. You can't confuse it. Mr. Mike telling you that it's literally the best thing you can do for your front delts and your triceps. It's a great starting point. And he put that in a video titled, Why You Should Never Overhead Press. It's clear. Now over here we have Jeff, God bless him, giving his S tier plus movement his best overall shoulder development.
And if I had to pick one exercise as the best of the best for overall shoulder development, I think I'd go with the cable lateral raise. It's easy to do, it's super effective, and it ticks all the boxes for hypertrophy.
And this is where the tier lists get a little bit weird because you gotta be clear about what it is you're actually ranking it on. When I think of something being S tier, I think of bang for the buck. This is gonna do more by itself than anything else. So if there's only one thing you can do, it should be this. And I don't think there's anybody that actually believes that somebody is more likely to get big ass delts by doing this weird side lateral cable thingy compared to a guy who's stuck on an island with a barbell and the only thing he can do to soothe his loneliness is press it overhead. And I'm not saying this is what Jeff is actually saying because he seems like a pretty reasonable guy. I want to be charitable, but it seems easy to interpret this as saying that, hey, if there's only one thing you can do, this is going to be the thing that gets you that big juicy stegosaurus sack. But the real Achilles heel of the overhead press, must stimulus to fatigue ratio.
Creates so much spinal loading and so much requisite for stability, the fatigue is really high. And the stimulus to fatigue ratio of almost any other delt exercise is usually better than overhead barbell press.
Now, I don't doubt for a second that stimulus to fatigue is a lot higher with standing barbell presses. I'm just skeptical that people are blowing their back outs and ruining their shoulder workout because of their 3x8 with 185 standing strict press. Just because something does exist doesn't mean it's a consequence. You can always fixate on the minutia. You can count grains of sand. The question is to your audience doesn't mean a goddamn thing, and this certainly doesn't. And when you say, oh, well, funny enough, bodybuilders tend to do most of their work seated. Why not just do that?
I'm not a big fan of seating barbell overhead presses. There's something manly that's removed from the exercise, specifically the standing upright.
If you do them seated, you do fix the stability issue, since they're still very front delt dominant, and there's something about the seated OHP that just isn't as satisfying as the standing OHP. I'm gonna leave these in B tier as well.
Jeff and Mike say the exact same thing about solving it that way, which is it's not as cool. And that's proof positive that my definition of gains, which included clout as the most positive variable, is in fact scientifically backed. When you're trying to pick exercises to emphasize in your training, there's a bunch of different reasons you would, and it has to go beyond what the marginal differences were in an EMG reading. We like barbell compound movements because they give a lot of bang for the buck. And if you do that and only that, you're gonna get pretty good results. It's gonna cover a lot of bases. They're also fun. They're easily accessible and low tech. They have progressibility, which means they are easy to push forward and people tend to stick with them for very long times. They are culturally relevant. People recognize it. It's tested in different sports. It anchors you deeper into the world of barbell sports, which of course is a subset of clout, which means gains. And there's a lot of lifters that are being either misinformed or they're interpreting the content wrong to come to the conclusion that they're either not going to be as strong or as big as they potentially could, or even that they're not going to get very big at all. So here's some questions I think are important with regards to the overhead press, even if hypertrophy really is your only goal. It's not often I talk to you hypertrophy only guys, because I barely consider you human, but today we're going to build some bridges. Does Jeff believe his S-tier movement really matches pressing? And if he doesn't, should he work a little bit harder to clarify that? I'm also curious if the evidence-based guys think or have any research to back up what the effect is of combining different movements. For example, is having a hypertrophy program that includes a heavy overloaded compound movement like overhead pressing paired with smaller isolation movements better than, worse than, or just as good as having only isolation movements? I think most people would guess that it's better, but some of the evidence-based content is so focused on individual traits like stretch or range of motion that they might lead you to believe that it's worse. And the truth is the research probably doesn't cover it one way or another. I'd also ask how important progressibility is, not just liking a movement, but the nature of a movement, having elasticity so that you can always add a rep or easily add a little bit of weight or that you're excited to move it forward. Because the fact is barbell movements have that way ahead of something like an isolated cable movement. I believe a bodybuilding program that has heavy pressing in it is probably better than the one that doesn't. I'm also going to assume that the people watching this type of content on average have strength as some part of their goal. If being stronger is at least 10% of your overall goal, you are absolutely justified exploiting the carryover you get from barbell movements that will make you stronger in addition to reliably adding muscle mass. In that situation, it's not just justified, it's actually necessary. Now that we got that out of the way, if we are in fact going to incorporate barbell overhead pressing specifically for the purpose of hypertrophic growth, how would we go about that?
Is keep the load close to your face, and then you will hit your side delts better, your traps better. It's not just all front delts. That's very good.
So according to Israel, you're going to get more middle delt growth if the bar is back closer, if your elbows are more flared. This is mimicked in dumbbell pressing, it's mimicked in machine pressing. Unfortunately, you can't do it with a barbell because your stupid face is in the way. Or is it? Once again, I'm going to say suck it, nerds, because a behind the neck press solves this very problem. It's movements like these that bypass the need to have an actual chart where somebody's breaking down the biomechanics of the movement to guess if it's good at hypertrophy. Do 15 reps on a front press, wait about 10 minutes, do 15 reps behind the neck. You tell me the difference. So that's enough hypertrophy talk. I gotta go take a shower now. If we know that the movement pattern of pressing a bar overhead grants strength, if we know that a full range of motion and having your elbows flared hits most of your deltoid in a very substantial way, the only missing piece is the most important, the clout factor. How do people look at a behind the neck press with a lot of weight? I give to you Russian weightlifting muscle icon Dmitry Klokov, who was quite a big deal 8 to 10 years ago in not only weightlifting but the CrossFit scene, and he was known for popularizing the Klokov press, which is a brutally difficult movement that also lights up the ever-loving shit of your deltoids. Now, some of the things Klokov was known for is doing a 225 one-arm snatch. In fact, he was said to have been able to hit a 440 hang snatch within an hour of having woken up. And he even had a brutal strict press of 375. In addition to that, he's about as close to a sex symbol as we get in this weirdo niche that we compete in. So is it a coincidence that the guy that popularized behind the neck pressing checks all those boxes? I don't think so. In fact, I think it's about clear-cut cause and effect as anybody can get. I'd also like to point to Ted Arcidi, who's one of the biggest benchers in the world, knocking on a 700-pound bench, and he is famous for his iconic pictures of taking big weight behind the neck and saying that it is without a doubt one of the best accessory and growth and development movements that one can do. And of course, there are endless pictures of Arnold and many other pro bodybuilders going deep on the behind the neck press, and in the process they built some of the biggest shoulders in the world that could easily be mistaken for brontosaurus balls. Now, this movement has long been established historically, and we just got confirmation from the evidence-based crew that it should, in theory, work as well as people claim that it does. You need a true vertical press if you do want to capitalize on shoulder hypertrophy. So for those reasons, its capacity to improve strength, size, and the clout that you're going to get when you take anything over 135 and do full range standing behind the neck presses, this is an S+ tier movement, hands down. Yeah, I guess we're doing that. I guess we're doing a tier list. I didn't know either. So for anybody looking to suck the soul out of their training by trying to optimize